before the deep into the channel, extending projects, review 3 by 3 by 3. They don't, when I told them that, they were like,
that was my next question.
they were just, he goes, who said it was 3 inches? Who can sit there and say that? I said, the federal government. That's who puts their money, you know, they don't understand, you know, the way we do things. So, but we try to educate them as best we can, but we always get problems.
And when they
I make a motion to approve.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. The second item to be considered is discussion of the Corps' request for the FY24 non-federal sponsor cost share to fund the plan of work contemplated by the dredge material management plan. And I would like to call upon Channing Hayden to make a presentation.
Thank you, sir. We've received a letter from the Corps of Engineers requesting the non-federal sponsors cost share for the funds in the President's FY24 budget for construction. So they have $18 million in the President's budget for construction, which means that $18 million represents 75% of the construction cost. We're responsible, the non-federal sponsor is responsible for the remaining 25%. So that means if 18 million is 75%, 6 million is 25%, and the Corps will have a total of $24 million in FY24 for use under the dredge material management plan, referred to in several different places as the DMMP. The specific use, well, the intended use for this $24 million is continuing to rebuild the disposal sites, which is part of the dredge material management plan. Now, there's other things that can be done, but the intent right now for the Corps is to rebuild the sites. So we're requesting the funding board to authorize the disbursement of $6 million to the Corps for their use for the projects under the DMMP.
Thank you, Channing, for that explanation. Pursuant to that discussion, or pursuant to that, is there any discussion about the providence of this resolution?
No, but I'll make a motion that requesting authority to be given to the executive director of the Port of Lake Charles to disperse up to $6 million to the Corps to fund the fiscal year 24 non-federal sponsor cost share of the dredge material management plan.
And I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
And the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the financial report, and Michelle, I guess I'll call on, oh, no.
Cameron Lee.
Yeah, Tim, I'll call on you. Thank you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so currently in the Calcasieu River Fund, there's roughly 17.8 million. For the current fiscal year, the 2.5 for industry will be billed this month, and it'll get us almost to 20 million. And then we'll have the disbursement of the 6 million I just approved.
Thank you, Tim.
And if you recall, at the last meeting, you guys authorized the purchase of needed disposal areas in DA 8, 9, and 10, I believe. We're working through that process. So as soon as I get the fair market value established with the various owners, we'll disperse money to purchase those as well. That's ongoing, and I fully expect that to happen within the next year.
Very good. The next item of business is the election of officers.
Excuse me, Mr. President, can I just make a footnote?
Sure, absolutely.
That what John just described will require us to make another request from this board to expend funds.
No, in the November meeting, they passed a resolution authorizing, I believe it was the executive director, to enter into purchase agreements for not greater than the fair market value, which I believe we submitted the current appraisal. So I think we have that authority now. It's just taken a lot longer, but that authority has been established. And I'll come back with the report so that you guys can see everything that was done. But I believe we have that authority now. We're just waiting on the final closing documents to be completed.
And just as a point of clarification for anybody that might be watching, that's not aware, this is not a cost share issue. This is a real estate cost, which is 100% the responsibility of the local sponsor.
That's correct.
Okay. Now we move to election of officers. How we do this?
I'd make a motion to keep the slate of officers consistent with the current slate.
Okay. And that's,
Can I make a recommendation that
Yes.
we nominate Ricky Self to serve as Secretary Treasurer? Ms. Renee Lapper-Leary was the Secretary Treasurer. She's no longer serving. We're waiting on DOTD to make their formal appointment, so it would just be easier if continue Mr. Harper to serve as President, but then Ricky Self serve as Secretary.
okay.
I can retract my motion and make a new motion that I, Richard Self, serve as Secretary Treasurer. Charlie Harper, you serve as President.
I will second that.
Excellent.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are elected by acclamation. And the final item on the agenda are any other matters that may properly come before the board. Does anybody have anything?
I do, yeah. Jonathan Ringo, General Counsel, Port of Lake Charles, and Acting Assistant to the Calcasieu River Funding Board. I just want to tell you guys where we are with the current cooperative endeavor agreement.
Excellent.
that was written and signed back in 2020. So just so that everybody understands how this whole process works. In 2020, in statute, by law, we established this board, the Calcasieu River Fund Management Board, which laid out your authority and all those other items that go into that legislation. And as far as funding goes, it says that, and I'm paraphrasing, but it says that the Port of Lake Charles shall contribute $2.5 million. Industry, as represented by Lamoga, shall contribute $2.5 million. The state of Louisiana may contribute $5 million in matching. And the reason we did that was the attorneys for the legislature said that due to a separation of powers issue, you can't have the legislature bind the executive to spend money, or vice versa. And so they said that it's going to have to be up to the discretion of the legislative body. They will not bind other agencies, and they will not bind future legislatures. So every year, the state's $5 million is subject to the legislative and appropriations process in Baton Rouge. We've been very successful with the prior administration in that he made a commitment to this community that he would put $5 million in his executive budget that was submitted to the legislature. If you know anything about appropriations, it's much easier to protect money that's already in there than get money added to it while it's going through the legislative process. So because of some other regulations in state government, they required that a CEA be established. The administration wanted a commitment from the port and from industry that we were gonna put up that money. And so that, and in order to be able for them to disperse that money from the Department of Transportation, they had to have a CEA in place. So we drew up the CEA. It goes through the end of fiscal year 2024, which it ends June 30th, 2025. And that's how it exists today. That money is currently in the budget that's making its way through the legislative process this year. Starting next year, we'll need a new CEA, and we'll need the administration to understand the importance of submitting that $5 million in their executive budget. So after this session, I think it's going to take all of us involved to push, to make sure the administration understands the importance of this program.
And the fact of the matter is, and we've talked about this before, is that the responsibility of the channel is the state of Louisiana, and industry and the port have come to the table to cost share with the state. So if industry and the port were not involved, the state would have to put the bill for the full amount as opposed to just $5 million.
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
Yep. DOTD is on board. That we met with this new Secretary of DOTD. He understands this process and understands the importance of it. We just have to make sure those that are drafting the budget understand.
Yes. Agreed. And thank you for that, John.
Sure.
Any other items that need to come before the board?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're adjourned.
I heard a rumor.